Hello, I'm Cat, and all of the Mounts of Mayhem features we saw at Minecraft Live and in last week's Java Snapshot are now on Bedrock thanks to a new preview, and I'm not going to waste your time by going through each of these features again that we already know everything about, but instead I want to focus on all of the new combat features because obviously they have to be implemented differently on Bedrock to Java. Some of these changes are very obvious, but I want to go through 4 today, some of which you might not have spotted if not for this video, because they are very serious about updating combat, but maybe not in the ways that you would have expected. And let's get straight into it, shall we? And let's start with some of the more minor combat changes that are very much appreciated on my end. The first of which is to do with all weapons. This isn't just for the new spears. If you have a trident, an axe, a mace, a sword, or anything else, including your fist that does damage, now when you punch with your fist, it will do the normal sound, but if you punch with your fist and do a critical, that is to say are falling at the time, you'll get this new sound. We have these new particles already, but this new sound will take place, and it makes for a very satisfying thud. Seriously, listen to this. Oh, isn't that just perfect? The answer is hopefully yes. I enjoy it a lot, and it's one of those Java parity features that's just been missing on Bedrock for an ungodly amount of time that now has been fixed. Isn't that great? Speaking of things that have been fixed and now it is great, I'd like to talk about the second feature because it's found inside the menus. So despite all of these features being the main ones that are being decorated and shared across Minecraft's main things, including in their game, by the way, where they'll tell you that a brand new preview is out and they get the number wrong because version numbers are getting too crazy. What's interesting is if we go to the settings, we can find a secret new setting, which is very, very important. It's found in video, and it's right down here, as you can see, underneath the FOV, altered by gameplay, and above UI profile, but there is this damage tilt option, which you can turn all the way down to 0 if you want to. This is the damage tilt is basically the camera shake that you get when you're knocked back, and in my opinion, there's some accessibility arguments about why this exists, but more importantly, I think a lot of people just find this to be slightly annoying. So if I right now put myself into survival, let myself get hit by this zombie, you'll notice that my whole screen has this little moment of tilting around. This isn't ideal, and I can now turn this all the way off should I want to. By the way, the zombie's coming at me. Let's attack him using this spear, although isn't that interesting how the spear works here on Bedrock, but we'll leave that aside for now, and instead focus on the third change that they've made from Bedrock to Java, because as we all know, there are lots of there are lots of tier of spear, right? Wood, gold, stone, copper, iron, diamond, and netherite. But what would you call that one right there? I called it gold, but officially it's actually golden, and indeed this is true for the Nautilus armor. It's golden Nautilus armor. It's true for the helmet, and so when they added the golden Nautilus armor this week, they figured, actually, why is it that gold horse armor is called that? And so they've changed it to be golden horse armor instead. This is a very small change, but it is kind of Mojang working out some of the weird nichenesses about, like, okay, if we're gonna have different tiers of armor, we need to at least consistently label them, which is nice, but again, isn't the maybe greatest combat changes you're hoping for. Instead, all of those come from the spear. The fourth and the biggest set of changes that they've made this week, different to how Java has implemented things. Again, we're not talking about zombie horses, as fun as they are and as many fun things as there is to talk about there. Zombie horses have been implemented in the same way, besides this funny little bug where instead of saying press A to exit, it says action hint exit _ zombie horse. But that's a little bug that will be removed at some point. But what isn't a bug is how they've implemented the spears. On Java, spears use the combat recharge system, which is to say, you can only attack once every so often, and if you try to attack before then, well, it's not going to work very well. This is the same system that their axes, their spears, their tridents, their maces, etc. use. However, on Bedrock, what's interesting is all of these weapons have no cooldown, and so how does the spear work, I hear you asking? The answer is that it has a cooldown, just like on Java, and so this is something we saw at Minecraft Live, but as a result, we expected that if there's going to be one weapon in Minecraft with cooldown, like this spear right here, then obviously to balance that out, they're going to make sure that the weapon is more powerful. If you're curious, the damages that weapons do on Bedrock and Java is different. This is the Bedrock damage for these weapons, and on Java, this is 1 higher, this is 3 higher, and this is 1 higher as well. But on the Bedrock version of the game, we now have a weapon which has more cooldown than every other weapon by a substantial amount. I'm being serious here. If there is a zombie, and I want to attack him over and over again with a mace, I can do it as fast as the zombie zombie can take damage, but if I want to do so using a spear, I can only do it as fast as the spear allows. So as a result, we now have a spear which is drastically worse on Bedrock, which makes me either think that Mojang didn't think about this, I think that's unlikely, or that they are planning to introduce cooldown speeds for other weapons, because otherwise, as it stands, there's basically no reason to use the spear on Bedrock, at least relative to its Java counterpart. It is horrifically balanced for Bedrock, and therefore I have to think that some things are going to change here. Indeed, one of the other problems we have on Bedrock is we've used the same cooldown system that exists for, say, the Ender Pearl. So give at self, I'm going to give myself an Ender Pearl to show you this one. If I give myself an Ender Pearl, or rather a stack of Ender Pearls, because that's the actual way to show this, if I have a stack of Ender Pearls and I throw one, you'll see I can't throw one for another few seconds. I just tried and it didn't work. So I'm going to throw another Ender... Oh, that's going to kill me. But what's interesting about reusing the Ender Pearl system is that they've done so literally perfectly, and this is a problem because spears on Java are meant to have different attack speeds, but on Bedrock, every single spear, from wooden all the way up to golden, and then up to diamond and netherite, they all have the exact same cooldown, and even more interestingly, it's shared. So this means when I attack with my stone spear, I can't use any of my other spears for the same time, but that also means that when you have a netherite spear or a wooden spear, they have the exact same cooldown. This is kind of not meant to be how the spear works. It's meant to be that the wooden spear, in exchange for its puny 1 damage, by the way, it's meant to be that it attacks faster, but it doesn't attack any faster on Bedrock, and so is this a functional system? I think this is definitely an in-between system, but I have to imagine they want to do things about it. By the way, isn't it cool looking at the shadow for all of these spears as they come out? Speaking of things that are cool, I would like to quickly point out something kind of interesting about the spear. So there is this secondary attack. It exists fully on Bedrock, and as far as I can tell, also does the same damage as on Java. Let me just damage some animals to show that to you. But by the way, I just attacked 2 enemies at the same time there. But what is really interesting is the fact that there is this, there is only a cooldown for the jab attack, but that cooldown can kind of be circumvented by using a different weapon, as you can see right here. So I'm going to attack and then switch out right here. And yeah, it's very strange that the animation at least can be switched, which makes me think you might be able to do something about the actual attack. Oh yeah, there we go. Wait, so attack, there we go. Okay, here it is. We can swing, and we're midway through the animation, then we can immediately do it again. Is that something you actually want to do? That is something that is highly debatable, I imagine. But yeah, you can have insane ranges on swords. Wait, did I just... Yeah, you can have really insane ranges in some cases that you otherwise probably should not have. Anyway, with that said, I have to talk about the last important thing today, because as great as all of these spears are, I want to talk about the interesting change they've decided to make to spears with the lunge and mending enchantments. So for anyone unfamiliar, putting mending on a spear was something you were unable to do if you wanted to then put lunge on it, or vice versa. You couldn't put mending on a spear that also had lunge. This was true in last week's snapshot, and it was a shame for a lot of people because lunge is a really cool enchantment that allows you to launch yourself forwards just like that. But as of this week's preview, and I believe this week's snapshot, you can also use these 2 enchantments together, and I think that this is an interesting fix to the wrong problem. The problem people have with lunge is that it uses 128 durability, and so their fix to using 128 durability is to make sure that you have to go mend up your spear even more, which is not the solution anyone wants. It's, you know, this is meant to be a fun enchantment, so let us actually use it, whereas having it be that, having it use up an entire iron spear in 2 uses means we're not going to want to use it because it's going to use up our valuable resources, that being your iron or your diamond or netherite, and more importantly, your enchantment levels. And so the fix is a very curious one, to say the least, and I can only imagine that I think that they're going to revert that. But let's talk about the other piece of news, because you might have heard about new cape information. As of today, or indeed as of yesterday, you've actually been able to get this brand new copper cape. And first things first, I've got to say, it looks incredible. But interestingly, there's a bit of a weird Bedrock thing about this, as always. So Mojang does say on their page that you can place a copper golem in creative or survival, and you'll be able to get this. This is the easiest challenge we've had in a while, by the way. Very interesting as a concept. But you can place a copper golem statue, like this one right back here, in creative or survival, and you will be able to get the brand new copper cape. But what they don't tell you, as someone who did this an hour ago, is that, yeah, if you want this to happen, then what's going to happen is they're going to send the cape to you in a way they don't really clarify. Apparently, it's an email at the end of the month, and so if you actually want a copper cape, waiting a month is a valid strategy, but you have to trust that Mojang has registered, your copper golem will go through, and that they're going to send you an email and it's going to work. Or you can watch 3 minutes of Minecraft TikToks. And so, yes, as a result, if like me you want this beautiful new cape, you've got to go watch some Minecraft TikToks. Anyway, so that is the combat news for today. Minecraft have made changes to golden things to make sure that the entire setup is aligned from spears to horse armor. Minecraft have made changes to damage tilt so that you can turn it off on Bedrock. They've made changes to critical hits, which I think are very broadly positive. And they've made changes to the spear that I think are a really good start here, but also that clearly leaves some, I think they leave some space to be desired, because as it stands right now, Lunge is in a very weird situation where it's just not really going to be usable for most players. I think that if Lunge is going to exist in its current form, Minecraft have been trying for a while to basically not nerf mending, but stop it being so OP, but they've accidentally done the opposite in this beta and preview. Now if you want to actually use Lunge, as I think many people do, you're going to need to have mending, as well as unbreaking, on the tool you want to use it for, and you're going to have to sit at an XP farm, which is not very fun, for a ludicrous amount of time to do so. This is a very strange system, in my opinion. You know, the idea that XP farms are becoming more mandatory rather than less, and I think that the actual easy fix would be, yeah, okay, having mending and Lunge be not mutually incompatible, or have them be mutually compatible, but then making it so Lunge does very little damage would mean you'd have to choose between that infinite repairability of your spear or being able to use it for cool moments. As it stands right now, you have to use both together, and it's basically worthless if you don't have mending, and I think that Minecraft should be not adding new enchantments that are worthless if you don't have mending. But that's just my personal opinion. What do you think? I also would say, when it comes to the cooldown, it's clear that some changes are going to be made there. I think it'd be a huge miss if not. And I think that this could be the start of a more broad system of cooldowns on Bedrock, and I'm excited to see where they go with that. But for now, the changes are kind of preliminary. It is our first beta of 1.21.130. Thank God we're not at 1.21.140. Again, everyone's seen my creation of the 4 letter, the 4 number, the 4 symbol, and thankfully we don't have to deal with that one just yet. Anyway, I am very excited to play around with this update, and indeed also the Soul Seal server, which seems like it's launched today, and so we'll be doing that likely on a stream tomorrow. For now, I hope you all enjoyed our first dive into the brand new 121.130 beta preview, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Like, this is weird. But what is cool, to give you something I do like, is look in the top left, my paper doll. I like that. That's all. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Good night. Whee!